I'm going to take a few moments to talk a little bit about one of the biggest issues that people ignore with their Vanagon, which is fuel line replacement. Okay, fuel lines on the van is the Achilles heel. Everyone that knows anything about Vanagons and has been around them for anything more than a few months knows that the engine fuel lines have a tendency to leak. Volkswagen had this problem from day one. They tried a lot of different ways to address it and never really was very successful as far as I'm concerned. And so now you own your van. It probably has the original fuel lines on it, and they're probably 30 years old. They're just rubber, so they will go bad, especially with the new gas that has the alcohol in it. You will have lots of problems with that even deteriorating the lines faster than normal. So one of the first things you should do whenever you get a new van is to replace the fuel lines. At Vanagon, we have a nice fuel line kit that we sell. It comes with instructions for $60. Comes with a German fuel line, which is the only fuel line you want to use. You can use United States fuel line from Napa, and it will turn hard as a stick in about 3 months, and you can take it off and snap it like a twig. That is not something that I want to do because I'm spending my precious time replacing these lines. I want to do it one time and do it right, and then it's going to be good for at least 5 or 6 years. So I'm going to be using German fuel hose, which has lasted for 25 years on this car, so it's got that going for it. And also you want to use stainless steel clamps. Now the kind of clamps that we use, sell, recommend are these worm drive clamps, stainless steel. Okay, they have raised ridges on them so they do not cut into the hose, but yet they will clamp and not come loose. Okay, now a lot of people got excited about band style clamps. They're called BMW style or ABA Swedish clamps that are stainless steel. Biggest problem I have with them is while they look really nice, they come loose. Okay, about once every 6 months they will be loose and you'll have to retighten them. These ones, you put them on, you snug them, they will be on there. And maybe you could check it after a few years. You'll have a couple that won't be totally super tight, but they won't leak either. So these are the kinds I use, these kind I sell. I've been doing this for about 14 years. I was actually the original person that came out with a fuel line kit for the Vanagon back in the day. So you're basically, it'd be like going back in time and learn how to chop down cherry trees from George Washington. Okay, that's what's going on here. You're hearing about this from the original person who originally saw a problem and decided to address it. That is me. Okay, so you can buy your fuel line kit somewhere else, and then you can send me a nice happy thank you note. Ken, you're the best ever, love you, bye. Okay, that doesn't really say thanks to me because I did a lot of research and work on this, and then you spend money somewhere else. How does that help me? So if you really want to say thanks, you buy our kit and you're going to get something that's awesome, and at the same time I'm going to make a few dollars and we're both going to be happy. Alright, so that's my spiel on that. Now while you're doing this fuel line replacement, you'll want to replace these short hoses here on the injectors. That's why I'm holding this and talking. We're going to look at that in a few minutes. Okay, you definitely want to do that. When you do that, you want to just be uniform in how you put the clamps on. Okay, I always put the clamp things on the bottom. That way it doesn't interfere with when you go to plug the fuel injector plugs back on. There's a method to my madness, and it looks good, be uniform. Then when you put them on the top, you want to just have them all in the same direction. Again, uniform. Okay, that's just showing that you give a crap. And also I would recommend replacing the fuel line or the fuel injector seals. Got the small ones here on the ends, got the larger ones down here. That's just actually just holds the thing into this little bifocal looking piece here. So, replace all that stuff at the same time. Some people get all spastastic about this little fuel rail. Which direction does the metal piece? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Okay, this metal end piece, you can put it facing towards the front of the car if you want. You can put it facing towards the back. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. It does nothing. All it does is it just holds gas inside. That's it. Okay, so who cares? But whatever makes you happy, you can put them both facing towards the front. One facing towards the front, one facing towards the back. You know, whatever. Float your boat. Alright, so that's what's going on there. You can see all the different lines. Now this is a synchro. It's a little different than two-wheel drive. It's got these two lines coming in here. I mean, basically those lines go on top of the gas tank. There is no way to get to them and replace them without taking the gas tank totally out. So, you know, if you've got a synchro, you could maybe cut this hose here, put a junction in there, run another hose there, you know, but it's up to you. But you're not going to be able to really do much with this other hose. This is your, you know, this is your feed, this is your return for the gas, for the fuel system. So it's up to you what you want to do. I mean, synchro, you know, taking the gas tank out is a massive undertaking. If you're doing it, I would highly recommend replacing the entire gas tank fuel lines at the same time. There's a ton of them, and they're long. They're all dry rotted. They're all sick. So, just something to think about. We do have a kit for that as well, of course. Self-promotion. I love it. Now, so we got this one hose here. This is your main feed. It's coming in under this air box. It attaches down here. You can see there's a T down here. This thing here is actually your test port for your fuel injection, fuel pressure. So you want to replace that hose. There's one that goes across to the right, to this right side fuel rail. Okay. And basically what you do is you just kind of see how it's routed before you take it out. Route it the same way. They also have these plastic sleeves. They go over the lines. You can kind of see it right here. You want to reuse them. I clean them up, reuse them. No reason not to. Alright, see how this thing looks great? All these things are lined up in the same direction. That's just, you know, again, craftsmanship. Okay? Showing that you care. This other line didn't have a protective sleeve on it. So I figure, hey, the factory says it doesn't need one. I'm not putting one on there. Okay, these are all original lines that were on here. This car's a 1987. Okay, you do the math. Now, so that's this other hose. It comes from the fuel rail, goes over here. This is the fuel pressure regulator here in the middle. So you want to rig that up. Okay, again, you want to put the clamp in an orientation where it's going to clamp. It's not going to hit anything. It's not going to bind anything up. Okay. And then I'm kind of in the middle, so I'm still working on doing the other two. But you got one other hose going this way. Okay, over underneath the air intake. Goes over here to this one side of the fuel rail. You got the other hose. It's going from the fuel pressure regulator over the top here to the other side of the fuel rail. I mean, that's pretty much it. Okay, so and then as far as taking the injectors out, it's pretty easy. Right here between the injectors, there's this little small 10mm screw. Undo that, the whole injector, both injectors, just pull right off. No problem. Okay, so I mean, that's basically doing the fuel line. When you take the old ones out, you just take your new line, hold it up against it, measure it the same exact length, mark it, and cut it, and you're good to go. Okay, so this is not rocket science. It's nothing that takes a lot of skill. You just have to be methodical. You have to, you know, do a good job. And your van will not burn up in a fire. That is great. I like that. I hate to see vans that burn up in a fire. So, do not let your van burn up in a fire. Instead, spend a small amount of money and a couple hours of your time. Replace your fuel lines. And you will be a happy camper, literally. Alright, that's it. Ken Wilford here at Vanagon. If you need anything, feel free to give us an email or a call. Our website is www.vanagon.com. Have a great day. Alright, right now we're going to talk a little bit about doing some fuel line replacement. As you can see, I have in the clamp here a Vanagon fuel injector. It's kind of crusty and rusty, but still works. So we're going to try to replace this short piece of fuel line here. This is probably the hardest part of doing a fuel line replacement on a Vanagon. is actually replacing just this little short piece of hose. And I'll tell you why. You got this little metal piece here at the end, like a little collar. It's actually not crimped around the hose. The hose is just pushed on these barbs. I'm not exactly sure what this collar is supposed to do. Okay, if I could kind of show you on another angle, there's a big space under here, so there's no way that it's crimping it. The barbs are holding the hose on, and then the whole thing kind of pushes into the head. That's probably what's keeping the hose from popping off on this end. But anyway, so in order to get this thing loose, the two things you're going to need is a super nice sharp knifey poo and a pair of vice grips that are nice. Okay, and what I like to do is I will put Mr. Grips on here, and it's actually kind of hard to do it while I'm holding the other hand, but put the grips on here. Okay, you put a strain on this hose so that, you know, when you go to cut this thing, you can put a strain on. Alright, so we're back. We're going to take this thing, this little short piece of hose off of here like we were talking about. So you take your fancy knife, you cut in here, and try to get up under this collar as much as you can. Usually what I'll do is I'll stick the point up in there, then I'll go this way with it, cut all the way down to the bottom of the hose. That's why you need a really sharp knife, because it's hard to get in there. So you want to, you know, try to get in there as much as you can. Then once you get it cut good, and usually I cut on a diagonal, take your grips, grab the hose, and you just kind of give it a twist. And usually if you've cut it enough, it'll just come right off. Of course, right now it's trying to be a jerk, but it is coming. And it'll just twist right off. Twist out from under that collar. See, look at that. Boom. Done. Out of there. So keep it for a minute so you can check the new one for length. This collar thing is just sitting on here. It's rusted on here because this stupid, everything on this car is rusted. But once you tap it a little bit, you can get it to come off. It'll just slide off with your bare hands, or you can use your grips on it, kind of pull it off of there. But that's pretty much it. So once you get all this junk off, yeah, see, look, bing, came right off. Off. Okay, ching. So you got it off. Clean everything up. Slide your new hose on. Clamp it. Make sure the clamp part is under here. Okay, at the bottom, because if you try to put it up here, it's going to interfere with where you plug the thing onto. You don't want to do that. So you just put it here from the side, clamp it with a hose clamp, and you're good to go. You are good to go. Alright, so I hope that helps some people. Wanted to do one last little amendment to my fuel line video, which is the other van we were looking at was a synchro, and it's different than two-wheel drive. You can see, actually, right here on the firewall, sorry about that, there's this plastic fitting. It is known to fail. On this car, it has failed. It's leaking right from here, dripping down onto the starter. This is one of the reasons why you want to replace your fuel lines, because with my fuel line kit, you're going to be replacing this plastic fitting just with a piece of straight hose that goes right to the firewall. And you can put some insulation around it, like a piece of the hose sleeving around it, keep it from chafing as it goes through this hole in the firewall, and that'll fix that problem. And then here's your return hose. This attached goes to the firewall, and then right behind there is a clamp. You can undo that and replace that. So in the two-wheel drive, I mean, you're basically replacing all the fuel lines when you do a fuel line replacement. They go through the firewall a few inches and then goes to a hard plastic line that I have never have a problem. So that is my amendment here. This is a two-wheel drive Vanagon automatic. I'm going to be replacing the fuel lines on this today, and that's about it. Have a great one.